And we return! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. My, situation is a little bit different in that I have a cat in my lap now. He's a very good boy, but he might get in the way of me using the keyboard and stuff to move the screen. Or, you know, being in front of the screen. So it makes it difficult for me to read. Your sub with her expired, but you still have a couple of the foxes. Yeah. You know, I might have to go check out that channel just so I can have that emote, because that's... And the other ones you've got there with it. That looks fun. But, oh, that's not what I do. For you, cat, yes, I know you love me. Wonderful. Click on the right screen, so press the down button. There we go. Very good. What a good cat. I love him so much. Warren is such a good boy. We got him some medicines today. Up with his coughing, and it seems to be helping a lot already. So much happier now. More energy. Apparently, while we were reading the Kaito story, he was running all over the bathroom and climbing on top of the fridge. So, you know, cat's doing all right. Cat's good. Cat's in good shape. Yeah. So, let's get on with this, shall we? Feel like I'll probably still keep reading each of them with author and everything individually, just to, you know, have it. Will do my best to navigate around the cat that is sitting on one of my arms and halfway on the other. All right, sound good? Let's get going. The Kami War by Daniel Holt. It is now commonly accepted that Kami and mortals once lived in harmony, but everything changed during the reign of Lord Konda. Fueled by a reckless ambition for everlasting power, Konda, Lord of Eiganjo, stole an item from the spirit realm. That item turned out to be the child of Kamigawa's most powerful kami, Okagachi. With his prize, Lord Konda gained unnatural strength and immortality, and his kingdom thrived. However, Konda's blasphemous act was to have more devastating consequences than he could ever have imagined. The loss of part of his being set Okagachi off on a chaotic rampage that spread throughout the spirit realm, affecting all kami on the plane. In their affliction, they manifested sporadically in the mortal realm, bringing pain and destruction wherever they appeared. Even some of the most revered and peaceful kami of this age turned on their patrons. Meanwhile, Konda himself, driven by the fear of losing that which was taken, eventually descended into paranoia. For the next 20 years, kami attacks continued, and mortals wondered what they had done wrong to deserve the kami's anger, completely oblivious to the acts performed by Konda. All they knew was that Konda was their only savior, the only one able to stand against the great kami's wrath, but that source of his power was unknown. At the height of the Kami War, Okagachi himself entered the mortal realm in search of the part of him that had been torn away. Following the trail of his offspring, the giant spirit raged across the land, leaving death and destruction in his wake. The Kami War only ended when that which was taken was shattered, and the trapped kami was set free. The released kami and Lord Konda's daughter Michiko defeated Okagachi, halting his destructive rampage, and killed Lord Konda as punishment for his crimes. Yet the art... Oh, there's a little bit more. The art depicted here emphasizes the beauty and terror of Okagachi as he appeared through an ethereal veil. While the dragon spirit's story came to a close at the end of the Kami War, the legend of his appearance and impact of his destruction lives on even today as the most pivotal event in all of Kamigawa's history. True. And yes, when the Fire Nation attacked Zar Arthur, that is exactly what I thought when I saw that. Yeah, was This is basically the primary plot of the original Kamigawa block. Whole thing. This dude, bro, decided to steal fire from the gods, effectively, give himself immortality, and made the Kame pissed off at everyone! Everyone! Because they, of course, didn't know who exactly had it. Oh. The weird little... Yeah. Yeah, that was short and sweet. I expect these will all be similar. Life of Toshiro Umezawa by Daniel Holt. Warning, if you don't want to know about this Kamigawa story from nearly 20 years ago, this is your last chance to avoid reading about it now. Yeah, spoilers ahead, I suppose. Toshiro is the main character that I mentioned before for the original Kamigawa block. This good boy. And as far as I know, the only mono-black solo protagonist in Magic. Like, well, I mean, Davriel doesn't count, really, because it's Tasenda that's the main character, I would say. The main protagonist. He's more of a deuteragonist on that one. And Liliana, I mean, she usually has the full crew with her. In fact, I can't think of... Yeah, there's not really a bit where it's just her. She doesn't have a block by her. Right? I'm not remembering wrong? No. No, when she does appear pre-Gatewatch, she's mostly villainous, especially toward Garrick. Oh, hi, Cat. Hello. Good boy. I love you. You're wonderful. Yeah, hello. Good job. Have a seat. Here you go. Yeah. Okay. Life of Toshiro Umezawa. First and foremost, Toshiro was an outlaw. The life of Toshiro Umezawa was a difficult one. His disinterested attitude and personal greed made him unliked and untrusted by those he met. Everywhere he went, he was confronted with life-threatening situations, which might explain why he had developed the strict philosophy of putting himself first. If there wasn't a prize or benefit for him, he wasn't interested. And when he did get involved, he did his best to make sure it was never a fair fight, and that he came out, if not the victor, at the very least with what he wanted. He was a skilled sword fighter, infamous for his use of Ajite, and a talented mage who cast spells by drawing characters. On one notable occasion, his curiosity and greed led him to the Sokenzan Mountains, where he encountered the demon-worshipping ogre Hidetsugu. He convinced Hidetsugu to join forces with him, thus founding the group that would come to be known as the Hyozan Reckoners. Oh. For among the Reckoners' tenets was the belief that if one were to cause harm to any member, it would be the responsibility of the others to avenge them. To enforce the bond, the members swore an unbreakable blood pact. True to his character, Toshiro eventually found a way to wriggle out of the blood pact, betrayed by the Reckoners for greater power, and abandoned them, or betrayed the Reckoners for greater power, and abandoned them. Toshiro gained his strongest ally by becoming an acolyte of Myojin of Night's Reach, a powerful kami with control over darkness, granting him access to her abilities, including the power to travel through the shadows of Kamigawa. Despite having a few partners, Toshiro had a lot of enemies that put him in some precarious situations, such as interrupting Moonfolk negotiations, resulting in them trying to find and kill him, fighting a horde of goblins strengthened by a powerful kami, refusing to be tricked by a mischievous spirit of the moon, getting captured by Orochi, only to break free, attack them, and send their powerful forest kami back to the spirit realm, outsmarting a crime lord, defeating her thugs, and stealing a priceless treasure. trapping a powerful ice kami and utilizing its powers for himself, releasing a demon upon the wizarding school of Minamo, stealing a giant moth from the imperial city of Eiganjo, getting captured by Orochi and escaping, again, fighting off moonfolk invading his dreams, evading capture by the imperial army and the most powerful kami on the plane. However, the most important adventure of Toshido's life is arguably getting involved in the Kami War. Historical records tend to paint Toshido as a noble, self-sacrificing champion sworn to the Princess Michiko. However, Toshido allied with Michiko because he figured it never hurt to have a princess indebted to him. This selfishness ended up being the salvation of Kamigawa, though. In his efforts to save Michiko, he stole that which was taken from Lord Konda and found a way for it and Michiko to communicate. Michiko was then able to free the trapped Kami, who would go on to become Kyodai, future protector of Kamigawa. This plane-saving adventure was not a rewarding one for Toshio, however. To save Michiko and Kyodai, he abused the powers he'd been granted as an acolyte of the Myojin of Night's Reach, using them against the Myojin's wishes. As punishment, she banished him from the plane of Kamigawa, to which he would never return. While over 1,000 years have passed on Kamigawa, there are still those touched by the tales of Toshido's adventures. Perhaps some familiar faces still reside on the plane, remembering him after all this time, or even carrying on his family name. Yeah, such as Satoru Umezawa, the big ol' crime boss that we saw in the last one. Yeah. So yeah, Toshido got banished from Kamigawa to Dominaria, where he founded his own clan, which then went on to kill Nicobolus, sort of. You know, the cool shit. I always, like, this is the classic Toshido look, but every time I see this art, which is from Umezawa's Charm, a newer card from Modern Horizons, I think it was? Maybe Modern Horizons 2? One of those. I always think, oh, it's George Takei. Yeah, here he is. I don't know why. I think it's the expression is what gets me. It's very, oh, you know? At least that's how I see it. Yes, you're a good cat and I love you. Hello. You are. Michiko's Reign of Truth. Emily Tang. Healing after the Kami War was not an easy task. Years of war and strife had taken their toll upon the land and its inhabitants. The root cause of the Kami War was still largely a mystery to the citizens of Kamigawa, and mistrust and animosity ran deep. To undo the damage her father had caused, Michiko Konda took on the task of restoring peace and harmony to the land, partnering with the great Kami Kyodai to do so. This partnership was met by fear and suspicion. To most inhabitants of Kamigawa, Lord Konda had been their protector against the enraged Kami. Such a close collaboration between Lord Konda's daughter and the child of Okagachi was shocking and unnatural, and Michiko's efforts were met with resistance on all fronts. Michiko realized that for Kamigawa to truly heal, people needed to know the truth. With Kyodai's blessings, she revealed the origin of the Kami War. In later times, historians have been able to say that Michiko's actions led to true healing and paved the way for harmonious collaboration between mortals and Kami. At the time, however, it created even more difficulties in her attempts to restore the plane. Many resisted Michiko's attempts at restoration, citing her lineage as Lord Konda's daughter as proof that she was not fit to take on the task. There were also those who continued to resist, refusing to accept the truth. Michiko never wavered in her resolve. It was her belief that truth and action were the only solutions to redressing the sins of the past. This elaborate folding fan depicts Michiko in her role as truthbringer, healer, and unifier of Kamigawa. Though she refused the title of emperor in her lifetime, the title was applied posthumously, styling her as the first emperor of a new Kamigawa. On the fan, she's depicted wearing clothes patterned with the Konda crest, which she wore throughout her life, signaling her refusal to shy away from her father's legacy or leave it hidden in the shadows. Oh, you have this card? Excellent. Fun. Volkenbaga does. And the idea to put it on a fan, excellent. Love that. Azusa's Many Journeys. Azusa was a traveling monk who belonged to the Sacred Order of Jukai Forest. She had always had a restless nature, but in the wake of the Kami War, her wanderings took on a more purposeful nature. As she traveled, she began to document lives and stories of those affected by the Kami War, as well as changes in how the mortal and spirit realms interacted with each other. Over the course of Azusa's life, she filled dozens of diaries, which became pivotal documents in helping preserve a record of Kamigawa after the Kami War. However, the more Azusa traveled, the more she began to fear that the past was in danger of quietly vanishing as the nature of the plane itself changed. Together with Reki, she founded the Living Historian to preserve stories and memories of history, keeping them alive for future generations. Azusa was last seen journeying to the Tendo Peaks at the heart of the Sokenzan mountain range. For centuries, her fate was unknown. It wasn't until recently Itsuki, the current head of the Living Historians, was granted permission by the Kami to enter Jukai Forest, that Azusa's final diary was discovered safely hidden in an abandoned forest stronghold. The diary is only partially complete. Its final entry described lands of ice and frost, where trees grow in twisted spirals and strange beasts swim through the snow, unlike any place ever seen before. This has led to much speculation about whether she discovered a new place on Kamigawa or somewhere else altogether. Some even believe that she somehow managed to wander into the spirit realm itself and glimpse for herself what it looked like unfiltered through mortal perception. Attempts to find this last fabled land of Azusa's journeys have been unsuccessful. To commemorate this momentous discovery, the Living Historians commissioned a kimono that was painted with detailed scenes, locations, and stories described in Azusa's final diary. Some of the stories provided new, never-before-known perspectives on events, such as the account of Azami, the head librarian of the Wizard Academy at Namo, after the academy was destroyed in the Kami War. The kimono stands on display in the entryway of the Living Historians' headquarters, greeting all who enter with the accomplishments of their founder. Complete with the hairpieces that she would pull her up here real quick. Yeah, there she is. Yeah. That's cool that she found her own, just new path to follow. Never even considered that could be a thing. Did she planeswalk? Who knows? I won't. Thing. Oh, right. So about the naming here. So they mentioned Reki, and that's a funky one that I wanted to mention about the Like, when we started the stream, I mentioned that a lot of the naming conventions were just, here's a Japanese word. Soreki, the history of Kamigawa. Soreki means history. His name is History, the history of Kamigawa. Come on, Watsy. Give the man an actual name. Like, for realsies? Scream. He was destined for this job. Right? Like, I'm gonna name you History, and you're gonna be a historian. The Dragon Kami Reborn. The Chosen One. History, the historian, will live on in history. History, the Reki of Kamigawa. Yes, the Dragon Kami Reborn. AKA, we really, really didn't want to reprint Kokusho. That would be really bad for our format. Among other things, honestly, Eiga and what was the white called? That's kind of White Dragon Spirit. Actually, a couple of these. One. Yosei, that's what it was. Yosei, the Morning Star. This jerk. So rude. I'm gonna make you skip your turn. And then I'll just bring it back and sack it and do it again. No gameplay for you. But anyway. Yeah. No way they were going to reprint those. Absolutely not. Not in standard, anyway. The Dragon Kami Reborn. Li Tang. The dragons of Kamigawa are some of the most powerful and enduring kami around. However, not even they are free from pain and death. Also, freaking gorgeous. Beautiful. Many of the dragons that got involved in the Kami War were horribly injured or killed. Yosei died guarding the city of Eiganjo. Jugan fell while aiding the monks of Jukai, and Keigo was killed defending Minamo Academy. Centuries later, Kokusho was killed guarding the denizens of Takenuma Swamp against an Oni attack. Of the dragons, only Ryusei survived the years unscathed. The dragons had been some of the mortal realm's strongest protectors, and with most of them gone, other malevolent forces soon began to wreak havoc. During the Shattered States era, a wave of Oni attacks swept across the land, culminating in a devastating event known as the Night of Withering, threatened the entire plane. In an effort to fight back, the Orochi enacted a powerful ritual to resurrect Jugan, their original protector. The ritual was successful, and together Jugan and Ryusei defeated the Oni incursion. However, Jugan could tell something was wrong. While she had lain dead, the plane had changed. While she was still powerful, she was no longer connected with Kamigawa she had once been. For the dragons to return and assume their rightful places on the plane once more, it would have to be a new incarnation. Jugan embarked on a journey to collect the remaining essences, other three dragons, then placed them all inside an egg. She and Ryusei willingly placed themselves in as well, and fell into a deep sleep. The egg was sealed into the heart of Boseiju, where it was nurtured for 50 years. When it finally hatched open, the 5 dragons emerged, reborn in their new forms. This painted silkscreen depicts the birthing of the new generation of Dragon Kami. In the art, Jugan takes on the most prominent role, highlighting her role in nurturing the dragons and bringing about their rebirth. The dragon's rebirth ushered in a new wave of hope and peace on the plane, and as the years went by, various organizations took inspiration from these new dragons' appearances to develop their own visual modes. The new looks are also quite good. Speaking of something mentioned in there, The Shattered States Era by Grace Fong. The artisans of Kamigawa pride themselves on their ability to infuse storytelling into their craft. They felt the hilt of a masterwork sword would be the most appropriate place to immortalize the history of the devastating Shattered States era. And I gotta say, that's pretty gorgeous. Oh, enjoy walking your dog, Midnight. Have a good one. After the prosperous reign of Michiko Konda, her descendants worked tirelessly with the great Kami Kyodai to maintain her legacy and uphold order and justice in Kamigawa. However, generations passed, these noble pursuits gave way to dynastic infighting. Eventually, an emperor died young without an heir, creating a crisis of succession. Some believed it should be her brother, others her husband. Eiganjo descended into all-out war, and it spread across the kingdom when local lords saw the opportunity to seize individual power. And he died, noble and peasant alike. The Yamazaki clan had served the Konda military for decades and earned a reputation for the unshakable sense of duty to their citizens. A young Yamazaki soldier felt the two warring successors were betraying and endangering the Kamigawan people. Inspired by his own ancestor's story of challenging a deadly imperial decree, he took it upon himself to end the contest for the throne. He successfully assassinated the late emperor's husband, but when he went for the brother, he found his target armed and ready for battle in the throne room. Upon seeing such confrontation in her own chambers, Kyodai had enough. He stripped the Konda family of their hereditary duty as rulers. From then on, they would be ordinary citizens, and the emperor would never again be chosen by blood. Now, the Kami would elect rulers for their noble qualities and the commitment to the nation. This sword was commissioned by the current administration as a warning to themselves. It depicts the moment when the Yamazaki soldiers entered the throne room to confront the emperor's brother, when Kamigawa was on the precipice of self-destruction. The image is a reminder that, despite the current emperor's mysterious absence, must not repeat the sins of the past. Yeah, that sounds right. I don't fully know how I feel about them just deciding, yeah, let's put the Warring States period, like the real-life Warring States period, on a card. Obviously, and ended with a totally different... No, the gods are gonna choose your leader now instead. But, I don't know. Feels weird to have a historical event represented this way. Yeah, the Saga arts are phenomenal. Look at this thing. This is just flowers, and they're amazing. Teachings of the Kirin by Emily Tang. Nowadays, Orochi can be found living all over Kamigawa. Once upon a time, though, they were the original inhabitants and guardians of Jukai Forest. And according to ancient legend, long ago, the Orochi used to have legs, like other Kamigawan mortals. I was wondering why some of them didn't, or most of them it looked like didn't, in the new game, or the new setting. For centuries, the Orochi led their lives largely within the Jukai Forest, where they existed in harmony with the forest's Kami. However, the construction of the city of Toashi and the destruction of the forest that came with it enraged the Kami. They drove out all who had been living within its borders and closed the forest off to everyone, including the Orochi. Cut off from their ancestral homeland, the Orochi struggled to fit in. New Aki inventions and moonfolk experiments with the merging realms had fueled a boom of innovation, new access to power that the Orochi found themselves unable to keep up with. Even worse, they could no longer draw on the Kami's powers as they were used. Desperate, the Orochi appealed to the Kami for help. In the end, it was the Kirin who answered the call. The Kirin refused to become the Orochi's new patron, as they first requested. Instead, through a series of tasks and quests, the Kirin helped the Orochi understand the truth behind their loss of power. The Kami of Jukai Forest, their anger at the mortals, hadn't stopped at physically ejecting them from the forest, but had cut off all who drew strength from them as well. The Orochi could regain their power, but they had to prove their willingness and sacrifice to the forest Kami first. They had to give up a set of arms and legs to revert to simpler forms. The catch was that doing so would make integration into modern-day Kamigawa even more difficult. The Kami had deliberately set a request they expected the Orochi wouldn't agree to. However, the Orochi surprised them by accepting these terms without hesitation, and even offered to give up their remaining set of arms as well. Touched by their devotion, the Kami granted the Orochi power magnitudes greater than what they had ever had before, and instead of simply taking all their limbs, granted the Orochi a new form to help them better channel that power. It's unclear how much of this tale is true, and how much of it is Orochi fable meant to impress their young with the importance of reverence and dedication to the Kami. Either way, it's one of the Orochi's most well-known tales, and a popular topic for artists' depictions, such as this vase and flower arrangement. The vase shows Orochi in their legless form, as a celebration of their new shape, and is used to hold an arrangement of flowers magically grown to evoke the Kirin. Arrangements like this are commonly found in many homes. Yeah, I'd been wondering about that. Where I can find. Like, this is what they used to look like. 4 arms, 2 legs, wild. Still got their tail. And this one, 4 arms, no legs. Yeah. Interesting. Lines. Yeah. Right? Like, where did all the legs go? Where have all the legs gone? What happened to leg? Era of Enlightenment by Grace Fong. The artisans of Kamigawa chose to commemorate the era of enlightenment by weaving a wall tapestry of embroidered silk. With the guidance and wisdom of Kyodai, the Imperials ushered in an age of collective peace and prosperity. The artists flourished until performers lined every street, and strides were made to improve relations with Kami so mortals could live a harmonious life filled with magic. Minamo Academy was rebuilt with the promise of transparency, conduct research that would improve lives. New laws were written to ensure fair treatment of every citizen, mortal or spirit, renewing the faith in their leaders. As decades and centuries passed, the mortals of Kamigawa noticed an increasing number of Kami inhabitants sharing their homes. A few of these Kami were friendly, but many more were upset, even dangerous. Having spent their lives in service to the Kami, the monks of the Order of Jukai went to investigate. They discovered strange rifts in the atmosphere that ejected confused Kami onto the plane. The mortal and spirit realms had begun to overlap, and they would eventually merge to a single unified realm. The Jukai brought this discovery to Eiganjo and Otawara, and they collaborated with the Imperials and Minamo to develop what would later be known as Merge Gate. The Minamo scholars used their knowledge to invent the gate mechanism. The Imperials used their infantry to erect them, but it was the Jukai who would greet the Kami and welcome them to their new home. So through their combined efforts, the mortals built gates around every new rift, ensuring the Kami would safely become part of a new, unified Kamigawa. The three figures in the tapestry represent the three groups of mortals who came together to develop the Merge Gates. They are centered around a historical, abstract interpretation of a rift in the sky, waiting to welcome their next Kami visitor. The monk, symbolic of the Order of Jukai, raises his hand to usher in its age of magical prosperity. Yeah. Very cool. I like this. Also, I like that they went with a hawk. Like, not anything crazy weird or whatever, it's just a hawk. The bird has arrived. Surprise! A bird. The bird could also be knowledge instead of a Kami that has... Either way, one of these things. Kami of knowledge, even. Could be both. Boseiju Reaches Skyward by Emily Tang. In the heart of Tawashi is Boseiju, the oldest living tree on Kamigawa, and the only remnant of Jukai Forest left within city limits. Big. At the start of what is now known as the Modern Age, the city of Tawashi was expanding rapidly to accommodate the demands of its increasing population. Moonfolk, Nezumi, humans, and Aki alike were living together, mingling in a way that would have been unthinkable in previous times. As the city grew, it began to eat into the Jukai forest. Trees were felled to clear the land for new buildings, and many of the forest... Lost track of where I was there. Trees were felled to clear the land for new buildings, and many of the forest's Kami found themselves being driven out. Enraged, the Kami fought back, emerging from the depths of the forest to wreck the newly constructed buildings and curse the builders. The Emperor at the time finally intervened when an attack by the Kami and Tawashi builders' subsequent retaliation threatened to upend all the peaceful relations between mortals and Kami once more. He brokered an agreement that the city would halt further growth into the forest. Meanwhile, the Kami would not attack the city or intrude upon their planning. The city builders could continue to develop any land they had already started building on, with one exception. They were forbidden from cutting down Boseiju, which had fallen into the city's domain during the construction and fighting. Furthermore, Jukai Forest was now closed to all mortals without permission from the Kami. Unable to expand outward, Tawashi was forced to grow upwards instead. Skyscrapers filled the city, and Boseiju was soon lost with the skyline. But then, the millennia-old tree, which had lain quiet for so long, began to grow. It grew so large and so tall that it came to eclipse even the tallest structures surrounding it. Builders attempted to match its height, but for every new tallest structure constructed, Boseiju grew even more. Boseiju's message was clear. The city might be standing on this ground now, but the forest refused to let anyone forget who had been there first. Today, Boseiju is the largest structure in Tawashi, its spreading branches casting a near-permanent shadow over much of Tawashi. I love that detail. Very cool. I have one left. Grab all of them? Or is there more? That. Yes. Okay. One left. Cool. Modern Age by Emily Tang. Yeah, the art on Boseiju itself is... We can look at that real quick. Boseiju... You can probably find just the art, right? Boseiju Who Endures art. Images. Actually, here we go. Power of Art Station. Yeah, look at that. I love the fact that rather than just grow straight up, like, you know, one might expect a tree to do, it just like, no, I'm just going to lift my branches high, or my roots higher, and then just push the rest of the tree up. So cool. Which adds to the magic, because of course, like, how is this structure standing? It shouldn't. Also, Boseiju sounds like Bocheju, I would assume, which is yawn in Portuguese. That's fun. Bochejo. The big yawn tree. When I see it, I yawn. I'm not impressed. Okay, The Modern Age by Emily Tang. For much of Kamigawa's history, power was concentrated in the hands of the elite. The Imperials who ran the plane with Kyodai's blessing, various warlords, and those who could channel the power of the Kami. More recently, however, Kamigawa has found itself facing significant disruption to the status quo, as new innovations have made access to power more widely and cheaply available to all. Key among these innovations were two: enhancers invented by the Aki artisans of Sokenzashi, and the method invented by the Saiba futurists of drawing power directly from the spirit realm. Virtual Tree. Virtual City. The Aki artisans had a long tradition of invention and ingenuity, as well as effectively using their scarce resources to great effect, including Kami-granted powers. Thanks to the Enhancer, even though few people had as deep relationships with the Kami as some Imperials in the Order of Jukai, they were now able to apply more efficiently whatever powers they had been granted. At the same time, the Saiba Futurists were conducting experiments, merges, to test the nature of the spirit realm. As an unintended side effect, they discovered a way to draw on magic directly, without needing to form a bond with Kami. Though the Sokenzanshi artisans and the Futurists weren't directly working together, these two technologies soon combined to form the basis of the boom in new technology that exploded across the plane. However, all this modernization isn't without its detractors. The Imperials have been trying to control the flow of new technology, attempting to maintain the stability that they see being pulled out from under their feet. And the boom of all this technology has seen the rise of a new group that calls itself the Order of Jukai, who believe that this unrestrained use of technology is drawing on power in a reckless, dangerous manner that threatens to irreparably damage the fabric of the two realms. Among the Kami, opinions are mixed. Some Kami are resistant, while others are more eager to see how things will change. Whatever their opinions, though, many see the appearance of new Kami aligned with technology as a sign that the soul of Kamigawa itself has been irrevocably altered by this changing landscape of technological and social upheaval. Stage is set for the present day. Yay!